Hey friends, welcome to Finlyn Media. Scientists have come to some surprising conclusions about the world and our place in it. Are some things just better left unknown? Science can be glorious, it can bring clarity to the world, but big scientific discoveries are by nature counterintuitive and sometimes shocking. Here are some of the biggest threats to our peace of mind. Before we look into more details about this, if you are watching my video for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Let's get on to the video. Discovery number 1. The Earth is not the center of the universe. We've had more than 400 years to get used to this idea, but it's still a little unsettling. Anyone can plainly see that the sun and stars rise in the east, sweep across the sky and set in the west. The earth feels stable and stationary. When Copernicus proposed that the earth and other planets instead orbit the sun, his contemporaries found his massive logical leap patently absurd. It would take several generations to sink in. Very few scholars saw it as a real description of the universe. Galileo got more grief for the idea. He used a telescope to provide evidence for the heliocentric theory, and some of his contemporaries were so disturbed by what the new invention revealed: craters on a supposedly perfectly spherical moon, other moons circling Jupiter, that they refused to look through the device. More dangerous than defying common sense, though, was Galileo's defiance of Catholic Church. Scripture said that the sun revolved around the earth, and the Holy Office of Inquisition found Galileo guilty. Discovery number 2. The microbes are gaining on us. Antibiotics and vaccines have saved millions of lives. Without these wonders of modern medicine, many of us would have died in childhood of polio, mumps, or smallpox. But some microbes are evolving faster than we can find ways to fight them. The influenza virus mutates so quickly that last year's vaccination is usually ineffective against this year's bug. Hospitals are infested with antibiotic-resistant bacteria that can turn a small cut into a limp, or life-threatening infections. A new disease keeps jumping from animals to humans, like Ebola from apes, hantavirus from rodents, bird flu from birds, swine flu from swine. Even in the 21st century, it's quite possible to die of consumption. Discovery number 3. Things that taste good are bad for you. In 1948, the Framingham Heart Study enrolled more than 5,000 residents of Framingham to participate in a long-term study of risk factors for heart disease. It is very long-term that the study is enrolling the grandchildren of the original volunteers. Subsequent ambitious and painstaking studies have shown that one's risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, certain kind of cancer, and other health problems increase in a dose-dependent manner upon exposure to delicious food. Steak, salty French fries, eggs, triple fudge brownies with whipped cream. Turns out that they are killers. Sure, some tasty things are healthy: blueberries, snow peas, nuts, and maybe even red wine. But on balance, human taste preferences evolved during times of scarcity, when it made sense for our hunter-gatherer ancestors to gorge on as much salt and fat and sugar as possible. Those cravings aren't so adaptive. Discovery number 4. Your mind is not your own. Freud might have been wrong with his details, but one of his main ideas that a lot of behaviors and beliefs and emotions are driven by factors we are unaware of turns out to be correct. If you are in happy, optimistic, ambitious mood, check the weather. Sunny days make people happier and more helpful. In a taste test, you are likely to have a strong preference for the first sample you taste, even if all of the samples are identical. The more often you see a person or an object, the more you like it. Mating decisions are based partly on smell. Our cognitive failings are legion. We make incorrect generalization We are easily distracted or swayed by irrelevant details, and what we think of as memories are merely stories we tell ourselves, new each time we recall an event. That's true, even for flashbulb memories. The ones that feel tough, they've been burned into the brain. Like millions of people, it has vivid and emotional memories of the 9/11 attack and their aftermath. But as an expert on memory, and in particular on the malleability of memory, they know better than to fully trust his or her recollections. As clear and detailed as these memories feel, psychologists find that you are surprisingly inaccurate. Discovery number 5. We are all apes. It's kind of deflating, isn't it? Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection can be inspiring. Perhaps you are awed by the vastness of geologic time or marvel at the variety of Earth's creatures. The ability to appreciate and understand nature is just the sort of thing that is supposed to make us special, but instead it allowed us to realize that we are merely a recent variation on the primate body plan. We may have a greater capacity for abstract thought than chimps do, but we are weaker than gorillas, less agile in the treetops than orangutans, and more ill-tempered than bonobos. Charles Darwin started life as a creationist and only gradually came to realize the significance of the variation he observed in his travels. For the past 151 years, since On the Origin of Species was published, people have been arguing over evolution. Our ape ancestry conflicts with every culture's creation myth isn't particularly intuitive, but everything we've learned since then in biology, geology, genetics, and paleontology, even chemistry and physics supports his great insight. Discovery number 6. Cultures throughout history and around the world have engaged in ritual human sacrifice. Say you're about to die and are packing some supplies for the afterlife. What to take? A couple of coins for the ferryman? Some flowers, maybe? Or mementos of your loved ones? If you were an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, you would have your servants slaughtered and buried adjacent to your tomb. Concubines were sacrificed in China to be eternal companions. Certain Indian required human sacrifices. The Aztecs slaughtered tens of thousands of people to inaugurate the Great Pyramid. After sacred Mayan ball games, the losing team was sometimes sacrificed. It's hard to tell fact from fiction when it comes to this particular custom. Ritual sacrifice is described in the Bible, Greek mythology, and the Norse sagas, and the Romans accused many of the people they conquered of engaging in ritual sacrifice, but the evidence was thin. A recent accumulation of archaeological findings from around the world shows that it was surprisingly common for people to ritually kill and sometimes eat other people. Discovery number 7. We've already changed the climate for the rest of this century. Would you believe it? The mechanics of climate changes aren't that complex. We burn fossil fuels. A byproduct of that burning is still carbon dioxide. It enters the atmosphere and traps heat, warming the surface of the planet. The consequences are already apparent. Glaciers are melting faster than ever. Flowers are blooming earlier, and plants and animals are moving to more extreme latitudes and altitudes to keep cool. Even more disturbing is the fact that carbon dioxide lingers in the atmosphere for hundreds of years. We have just begun to see the effect of human-induced climate change, and the prediction for what's to come range from dire to catastrophic. Discovery number 8. The universe is made of stuff we can barely begin to imagine. Everything you probably think of when you think of universe: planets, stars, galaxies, black holes. Dust makes up just 4% of whatever is out there. The rest comes into two flavors of dark or unknown stuff. In other words, dark matter. At 23% of the universe is dark, and dark energy is at about whopping 73%. Scientists have some ideas about what dark matter might be. It could be exotic and still hypothetical particles that they have hardly a clue about dark energy. University of Chicago's cosmologist Michael S. Turner ranks dark energy as the most profound mystery in all of science. The effort to solve it has mobilized a generation of astronomers in a rethinking of physics and cosmology to rival and perhaps surpass the revolution of Galileo, inaugurated on an autumn evening in Padua. Dark energy has inspired us to ask, as if for the first time, what is this cosmos we call home? But astronomers do know that, thanks to these dark parts, the universe is expanding. And not only for expanding, but expanding faster and faster. Ultimately, everything in the universe will drift farther and farther apart until the universe is uniformly cold and desolate. The world will end in a whimper. Hope you enjoyed these interesting facts about disturbing scientific discoveries.